And so when I feel stuck, I always remember this one rule. So what I like to do, because of Parkinson's law, is to shrink that time. But I also interpret the 2-minute rule in two other ways. I can group them together in one focus block. Hello fellow creator, and welcome back to the channel, the best place on YouTube for creator productivity and growth. So one of the questions that I get asked the most is, Dan, how do you manage your time? How are you able to consistently post 3 YouTube videos per week, write articles and book summaries for your blog, as well as creating courses, managing a team, and so many other things? So in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 principles, 3 tactics, and 3 tools that I use to manage my time as a creator, be more efficient, and get more things done while also having more fun. So make sure you stick until the end of this video to learn my top 9 time management tips for creators. So let's get started. All right, so the first principle that we have is make before you manage, and I learned this one from Tim Ferriss. Now, as a creator, you kind of have 2 roles, the role of the maker and the role of the manager. So the maker versus manager schedule is an idea by Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator. So the role of the maker is anything that involves creating new things, like shooting YouTube videos or publishing an article or creating a course. You are actively creating something new for the world. All those things are the role of the maker. Now you also have another hat, which is the manager hat. Any activity that doesn't fall on the maker side, that you're just managing things, falls on the manager role. For me, that means managing my team, making sure that the tasks are being completed, delegating, and then all the other things that are not directly related to creating something new. So for example, if I need to update my office, maybe put a whiteboard there to create courses, there's a video coming soon about that. Stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to get notified when that video goes live. That also falls on the manager's role. And so sometimes managing everything becomes a little bit overwhelming. And what happens is I go a few days without creating something new. And then the more you don't create, the more you get in this loop of being stuck and not being able to record or to write. And so when I feel stuck, I always remember this one rule: to make before you manage. Yes, there'll be things that you need to manage, but as a creator, your main job, the most important activity that you can do is create something new. So when I'm feeling stuck, I make sure that I start my day by creating something new. And at this point, it doesn't really matter what I'm creating. It just means that I'm doing something that is getting me out of that stuck loop that I was in before. And once you stop being stuck by just releasing either new video or new article, everything becomes a little bit easier. So this is the first principle on how I manage my time. Think of the highest leveraging activity that you can do, which is create something new, and make sure that you make before you manage. The second time management technique that I use a lot is the Pareto Principle, aka the 8-20 rule. Now, probably you already know this one, you've come across the 8-20 rule before. So the idea here is that 80% of your results are gonna come from 20% of your efforts. And you can apply this rule to anything that you have in life. 80% of your sales are gonna come from 20% of your clients. 80% of your views are gonna come from 20% of your videos. Now, the relationship might not always be 80-20. It might be 5-95, 10-90, or 30-70. It doesn't matter. The idea behind it is there's only a few things that you do that are gonna yield the majority of the results. So as a creator, I apply the 8-20 rule, for example, on my tasks. What are the 20% of my tasks that are gonna yield 80% of the results? And even in videos, what are the 20% of videos that I can make that are gonna get 80% of the views? Now, obviously, I won't get it right every time. There's no way to predict the future. But by thinking first in terms of the 80% rule, by thinking in that mindset, it brings light to what's really important and what's gonna bring the best outcomes for me. You can even apply it to email as well. 20% of your emails are going to take 80% of your time. Distractions, 20% of the distractions are going to take 80% of your time. The 8-20 rule is literally everywhere. Everywhere. So by thinking beforehand, putting myself in that mindset really helps me manage my time better. And finally, we have the third principle, which is Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law, again, you might have come across this, but it states that work expense as the amount of time you give to complete a certain task. And so a great example here are college exams. So you know beforehand, like 3 months in advance, when the exam is going to be. So now the only logical thing to do would be to study every week to make sure that you're ready when that exam comes. But is that what most of us do? No, not really. The majority of the people are going to cram for the exams at the very last minute. And I'm guilty of being one of those people. I took so many exams that I only prepared like a week before, and some of them even just the night before. So how exactly do I apply Parkinson's law to manage my time? Well, one way that I like to think of it is if I'm going to give myself an amount of time to complete a certain task, I know that it's going to take at least that long or sometimes a little bit longer. So let's say, for example, scripting a YouTube video like this one. I know that's going to take about 1 hour and a half, 2 hours. And because I'm giving myself 2 hours to complete it, it's probably going to end up being 2 hours of work or even 2 hours and a half. So what I like to do, because of Parkinson's law, is to shrink that time. And so if scripting a video is taking me 2 hours, can I complete it in 1 hour and a half instead? And what I like about this is also a challenge with myself. Of course, I don't want to end up with a script that I can't use. I don't want to compromise on quality. But at the same time, by giving myself less time to complete it, I know that I just need to be on focus mode and just write it down and complete that time. And what I actually do is I put a timer on my phone with an alarm to make sure that I'm completing that on time. Now, obviously, I don't always beat the clock, so to speak. But if it takes me 1 hour 45 instead of 1 hour and a half, I still saved 15 minutes from my previous record, so to speak, which was 2 hours. And so that's the micro way of applying Parkinson's law to your tasks. Now, the other way that I like to apply Parkinson's law are to big projects, so the macro overview. So for example, let's say I have a project which is recording a new course, and I know from experience it's going to take me about 3 to 4 weeks. So now I'm thinking, can I do it in 2 weeks? Again, I don't want to compromise on quality, but by shrinking that timeline, I am forced to think on how I can be more efficient without compromising on quality. So maybe I'm able to script a little bit less of each lesson, and that helps me script a lot faster. Or maybe I can memorize the cards on my break, so when I'm recording the lessons, I'm already familiar with most of the material, and I don't have to keep shooting takes and takes until I get the one that I'm happy with.
You're very fast, Argyle.
So yeah, that's why I like Parkinson's law so much, because you can apply it at the micro and the macro scale. All right, let's now move on to the first tactic, which is the 2-minute rule. Now, the 2-minute rule is a concept by David Allen in Getting Things Done. If you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it for productivity. And the idea here is that any task that is so small that you can complete it in 2 minutes, instead of writing that task in your to-do list or in your calendar, you simply do it right away. Now, as a creator, you know this. There are so many small things that come in through your days that are only going to take you a couple of minutes to complete. And what's more for me, when I have so many small tasks in my to-do list, I get a little bit overwhelmed, I get a little bit frustrated because I know I have so much to do. And so the 2-minute rule really helps me with that, because now I'm not creating this endless list of to-dos and I'm just going through tasks right away.
Want to do it right now?
So that is the first application of the 2-minute rule, but I also interpret the 2-minute rule in 2 other ways. The first one is, if I'm procrastinating and not getting started on something that I know I need to do, I'll just do something that moves me in the general direction of that goal for 2 minutes. So for example, take this YouTube video. Sometimes I don't feel like recording YouTube videos, even though that I know that I should record them. And so using this interpretation of the 2-minute rule, all I'm doing for 2 minutes is setting up everything that I need to start recording. So that means putting the lights, the microphone, the camera, adjusting the picture, and making sure that the shot looks nice. And that's all there is to it. And now when I come sitting at my desk, everything is ready to record. Now, it's still painful to start recording, but because I moved in a general direction, because now there is no friction of me to getting started, it is much easier to just start recording. And once I start recording and I'm a few minutes into the recording, it turns out to actually be, most of the times, very easy. It's just that first barrier of procrastination, getting moving, that helps you get motivated to start recording. Because motivation doesn't precede action, action precedes motivation. So the moment that you start moving in the general direction, it becomes a lot easier to get started.
Easy.
So that's the first application. The second way that I look at the 2-minute rule, I actually call it the reverse 2-minute rule. Now, as a creator, you're gonna have tasks that are gonna be a little bit boring. I'm looking at updating spreadsheets or cleaning up your email. Every creator has these kind of boring tasks, but you still need to do those tasks. So when I'm doing a task that I need to do, but I'm a little bit bored, I convince myself to just do it for 2 more minutes. That's it. I just have to do it for 2 more minutes. Again, I go into my phone, put 2 minutes on the clock, and just continue working on the task. And what happens most of the time, because I don't have an alarm, is I'll get distracted and I'll end up working a little bit longer. Now, sometimes I make it to 5 minutes, sometimes I make it to half an hour. But by tricking yourself into just working for 2 more minutes, you're much more likely to get into that flow zone. And once I'm in the flow zone, the boring task almost seems fun. And because of that, I'm able to continue working on it. And in no time, I complete that boring task.
Fun.
So that's the 2-minute rule for you, and then 2 variations that I like to use. The next tactic that I use a lot is time blocking. So time blocking is this idea of scheduling everything in your calendar. So you're just creating time blocks for the tasks that you need to complete for the upcoming week. I do this process every Friday. So when I'm doing my weekly review, I'll start by cleaning up the files, cleaning up the inbox, then I review my week, and finally I plan the upcoming week. And when I'm doing that part, I'll schedule all the time blocks in my calendar. And that for me as a creator means blocks for creating things and blocks for managing things. So in the creator side, I'll be recording YouTube videos, working on courses, writing articles, and book summaries. And then on the manager side, all the things related to managing my team, managing the YouTube channel, the blog, and all those things that I run. Now, obviously, I'm not a robot. I don't follow my plan 100% most of the time. And to be honest, that's to be expected. But still, time blocking helps me a lot because I can see the time that I have allotted for all the different tasks. And then I can see, again, remember, because I'm a creator, if I'm spending the majority of my time creating new things. And so here's a pro tip that I like to use. I use different colors for making stuff and managing stuff. So so then it's very easy to look at my calendar and see how many blocks I have in purple, that's the creator part, and how many blocks I have in yellow, which is the manager side. And if the ratio is falling too much on the yellow side, that means I need a little bit of adjusting. Yes, some of the weeks I'll have to manage a lot more, but in general, I want to spend the majority of my time, remember 8/20 your time, on the purple side of things.
But he's a creative guy.
So yeah, as a creator and actually just a knowledge worker in general, time blocking is a very powerful tactic. And then I like to couple it with the third tactic, which is batching. Now, batching is the idea of grouping similar tasks that require similar mental states. So for example, anything that falls in the writing category can be batched. And for me, that means writing scripts, writing articles, and writing book summaries. Because the mental state requiring to writing all these 3 different tasks, I can group them together in one focus block. The same can be said for YouTube videos. I like to record multiple videos at once because I know that the first few minutes of a video are going to be a little bit harder, but once I get into that flow zone, once again, it's so much easier to just keep recording. Boom. And in recording YouTube videos, my personal record is like 4 in a row. I actually think that 3 works best for me. And so that's what I try to do at most times. So I batch scripting and then I batch recording. I don't edit the videos anymore. I have a video editor as a legend. And then I schedule the videos to be published in the future, again, in a batching block. And you can do this for your manager tasks as well. For example, if I need to update financials on multiple spreadsheets for my personal life and my business, I'll batch those 2 tasks in a specific time block. So what I do is I go into my calendar and I make sure there are batching blocks available throughout my week. And because you're doing tasks with the same mental state, not only you get in the flow zone a lot faster, but you'll also be able to complete your tasks a lot faster. All right, that's it when it comes to tactics. Let's talk about tools. And my #1 favorite tool to save time and be more productive is Alfred. All right, let's switch to the computer so I can show you Alfred. Alfred is actually a better alternative to Spotlight. It's basically Spotlight on steroids.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Left. Come on!
So let me quickly show you what you can do with Alfred and the key commands that I use the most when using this app. So probably the command that I use most in Alfred is opening folders. So how does that work? To open Alfred, I customize the command to command spacebar, which you might recognize is the command for the Spotlight. And then all you do is the apostrophe. And then for example, let's say YouTube, and this is my YouTube folder. So here's where I put all the files for my YouTube videos. Now, another thing you can do is to search within Chrome by typing what you want to search in Alfred. So let's say I wanted to find the make before you manage, the Tim Ferriss post that I talked about previously. All I do is click command spacebar, make before you manage, hit enter, and now it has opened Google automatically. And you can do alt searches for other things. For example, you can also search in Amazon. Let's just say roasted beans, search Amazon, and also Wikipedia if you want. So now it's opening on Amazon. And then the cool thing about Alfred is you can power up with workflows. Now, workflows are specific actions that you're telling Alfred that you want to do with specific commands. So for example, let's look at this one. Should I watch this movie? Now this workflow is saying, if you type movie and then the keyword, it's going to open YouTube, IMDb, and Rotten Tomatoes. So let's give it an example. Let's say movie, Saving Private Ryan. And you see it has opened Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and then also YouTube. And so by adding more workflows for your calendar, for Zoom meetings, and so many other things to Alfred, it really saves me a lot of time because now I use my keyboard about 90% of the time to open anything that I want. I don't need to switch from my keyboard to my mouse. I'm just opening everything very fast and finding all the files that I want quickly. And so Alfred was really a game changer for me in terms of managing my time. Now, the second tool that I like to use and that really saves my time is Notion. Notion is basically where I organize everything that I have to do for my business. So as you can see here on the sidebar, I have projects, areas, resources, archive, and then I have goals and tasks. If you want to know more about how I organize my business in Notion, please drop a comment saying, yes, I want to see that video, and I'll edit it to the videos to be made in the future. So there's so many use cases for Notion. I'm just going to give you a quick example of how I use Notion to manage my YouTube videos. So here you'll see how I manage my time as a creator. This is the video I'm shooting now. It's now ready to film. I'm actually filming it. And when I'm done with this video, I'll move it to the edit part and then I'll upload the files so my editor can start working on the edit of this video. And you'll see I have many videos ready to be filmed. Then I just need to move the cards to publish and published, which right now it's 43 videos on the channel. And because of the different views that Notion allows you, I can see this as a table view. So basically the dates that I set when certain videos are going to be expected and the dates that I've actually published videos. So for example, the first video ever was published on the 3rd of November. That was about deep work. You'll see that in the beginning, I didn't do a lot of videos, but then as time goes, you'll see that I've been consistently publishing 3 videos per week. And so yeah, Notion really helps me stay organized, stay on top of everything. If you want like an in-depth video on how I manage my YouTube content calendar with Notion, again, Again, just drop a comment and I'll make sure that video is prioritized. And finally, the third tool that saves me a lot of time is Loom. So Loom allows me to record my screen with audio as I'm doing something. And then that screencast gets automatically uploaded into my own folder. Now this tool is so cool, a complete game changer. The free version only allows you to record 5 minutes, but you can record more than 5 minutes if you just upgrade. It's like $10 a month. And I use Loom for so many things. They say that an image is worth more than 1,000 words. So for example, let's say that I want my editor to do something specific in a video. Instead of just telling or writing on WhatsApp what I need to be done, it's just I start recording my screen, I speak to the screen, and I show things that I want. Maybe I'm showing a video that I've watched before that I really like the transition, or maybe a title or a certain effect. And now I'm showing through my screen exactly what I need. Now the other way that I use Loom extensively is when I want to delegate a task. Now before, what I would do is I would create these long playbooks, or as most people call it, SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures, with all the steps involved in completing a task. So here's an example. I needed someone to format all my articles on WordPress. So then there was this long playbook of like step 1 and then step 2, and there were like 57 million steps. And then you know what happened? 2 weeks later, WordPress changed a little bit. And because of that change, the buttons were not where they were supposed to be. And I had to go back and edit like 30 million of those steps so that the playbook would make sense again. And then at some point, WordPress is gonna get updated and that playbook is now obsolete again. So instead of doing that, what I now do is I just record myself doing that task. So for example, let's say that I wanted to find someone to do my thumbnails in Lightroom. So I could just show them the process. I could just start recording here and then open Lightroom here. Loom is already recording. And then I can record the video showing how, you know, first you need to crop to like the aspect ratio of YouTube. You might have seen this one. This was not actually the one that I used, but this is my 4-step system to stop procrastinating. And then all the color correcting that you need to do and all the filters, profile, lights, exposure, contrast, all those things. And then when I click stop in Loom, it will stop and it will automatically open in a new tab that Loom video. And so now I could just put like how to design a thumbnail, or actually how I design a thumbnail. And then all I need to do is copy video link there. And then if I open it in a new tab, you'll see that that is the link to that screencast. So I can now send this link to the freelancer or someone who's working on this. And I don't have to create this long and really boring playbook that's gonna be outdated in no time. So that's it. That's my top 9 time management tips for creators. If you want to know more about all the apps that I use in my MacBook, I have a video exactly on that topic right here. So go watch it right now to learn all the apps that I use in my MacBook Pro. Just click here and stay on the best channel for creators. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.